and welcome to Inside the Writer's Studio, presented by the Hawaii Writers Guild. I'm your host, Eila Algood, and I'm excited today because we have Tamara Williams with us from Oahu. And Tamara is going to share a story, her writing, and then we're going to follow that up with some talk story to get to know her a bit more as a writer. Welcome, Tamara.
Thank you so much, Alex. Absolutely an honor to be here in the Writer's Studio today. And of course, I am Tamara Williams, and I am military spouse, proud mother of 3, and my passion for writing started since I was about 13, consciously so. Poetry is my passion, my niche, and today I will be sharing one with you. And this one is titled Rekindle. So here it goes. Gaze deep into the mirror and you will see that the one looking back at you is stronger than you probably know, determined, focused, alive with vision and purpose, knowing that no matter what has happened, the I am inside you will fuel power for you to go on. Broken but alive, pelleted with words, scorned with ridicule, abused but you survived. Strong one, courageous one, see the fire in your eyes. See that you are alive and resilient, being restored for greatness. Eyes gazing deeply into the one whose journey through life has been filled with hurt and challenges. Eyes frustrated, weary, yet there is a flame deep within that speaks life. So, in your pain, remember there is always a way to healing. And amid those pelleting words and morbid abuse, there is a resilience inside you that will cause you to fight back and rid yourself from toxins deposited. Look deep into yourself and introspect. See your life rebuilding into something greater. See the expanse of your territory swell and stretch to the east and into the west, from the north and into the south. Then say your name and command your being to fly.
Thank you, Tamara. Wow.
You're welcome.
So that was, I found that very powerful. Let me take my glasses off so I don't glare on everybody. Can you share with people, first of all, you said poetry seems to be your favorite go-to in writing, is that right?
Yes, it's like second nature.
Have you written a lot of pieces over your life?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have.
And have you ever?
It has been.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say it has been therapy for me. It's how I analyze and introspect and try to make sense of things in my life. I write through victories. I write through pain, or sometimes after. I write when the emotions are welling up. It's how I cope. It's my coping mechanism. And I've also found that it has been inspiring for me. And I thought, once it brings healing to me, it can bring healing to others. So that is what it channels more energy into my writing.
When does it go from maybe just writing about an experience to this is going to be a poem? Like, what happens for you? What's your process?
It depends. It can be a thought. It can be the actual situation. Sometimes, a lot of times it comes from journaling. And then it just rolls itself out on paper in the form of poetry. Many times I attempt to write an essay or a story, and it just ends up into poetry.
I understand that.
And it's without thought. It's I just have to write it down. I hear it first.
Yeah.
I hear it, and then I write. I've done a few pieces where I actually go on stage and start talking, and the words just flow from inside.
Wow.
And then I've had times where I'm like, shoot, I hope I can remember some of this. And so I'll pull from what I would have shared. Let it be motivation. I did a lot of this back home at church. For charitable events, I performed, especially because a lot of my writing is geared towards women empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of campaigns against domestic violence, anything that will motivate young women and girls.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes to just talk to people and share these thoughts that I would have been playing with in my head or thinking out loud about, and then they transcend into writing at some point. Sometimes it happens like that too.
So you receive a lot in your mind. You have an idea of this is going to be a poem.
Yeah.
And it's in your mind. Would you say a lot of it or part of it, or it depends?
It depends. Sometimes a lot, sometimes part. Sometimes I get one line, one word.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I just flow. Verses would come out.
Yeah.
And then, once I get a chance to write, because life could be very busy at times, I would just put those thoughts down. And then there are times where, you wake up in the middle of the night. For me, I write 2:00 and 3 in the morning. That's my time. And I can just write there effortlessly. It just flows.
Well, if you have a family with children, 2 or 3 in the morning is when it's quiet, right? And there's no phone calls.
That too.
There's nobody watching anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My me time.
I used to write a lot when my children were young. That was like golden time for me. Was not every night, but once in a while to be up for a couple of hours in that quiet time where nobody needs you and you can be present with your own inspiration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's very valuable for people to hear about your process. What else would you like people to know about you as a writer?
Oh, sure. So I love spoken word, and my background, as my professional background, is journalism and public relations. Journalism, and there's something about radio that I love. I love being able to go into the studio with my pajamas. This is before you can put it on air, on the social media, and you can still sound as if you're well dressed. But there was something that I love about radio and recording. It's just a passion. It's where I'm comfortable, and I love sharing. I love inspiring people. Motivating people is my drive, and I just thought that merging the writing and the passion to share inspiration it will form a very viable and strong platform. So I have been doing that. So I am from Guyana, which is a beautiful country in South America, just next to Brazil. And we have a very vibrant culture. It's poetry, dance, drama, song, music. And while I was back home, I did a radio program that was geared towards sharing poetry. It was called Riser. And I simply went there on Sunday mornings at 6:00 and shared poetry with people. At first I was nervous because I was wondering if everybody would receive it, because not everybody tends to like poetry. But surprisingly so, People loved it. It was soothing. It helped to calm them. And so I write from that perspective as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I share the radio love with you here where I live in North Kohala, this little town of Habi. We only have a few thousand people, but we have a community radio station. And
Awesome.
it's a wonderful way to share with the community. And it sounds like you have a nice experience of that, being able to share your poetry on the radio. And that's wonderful. That's really, I think poetry for me, I've written a poetry book, published it. And in a way, I rather give out bits and pieces, because to me it's hard to sit and read a whole poetry book, right? Because each poem is usually so potent. So sometimes it's nice just to put it out there anywhere, on social media and where you post something on Facebook or make a little video and put it on. It's just, people can hear one poem. It's hard to hear maybe 10 in a row and take them all in, like your piece that you read. It's I call it a purified reduction of an experience.
I like that.
Yeah, and I'm not a cook, but but it does. It takes out all filler words and maybe story and really gets into the crux of whatever that passion is that you have, that you feel you want to share with people in your very specific, particular way.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I should also tell you that about 2 weeks ago, oh no, 3 weeks ago, I launched. This is another project that I started working on recently. It's called Virtual Light, and that's a podcast. And so the podcast is is geared towards exactly what you were saying, giving people poetry that inspires in snippets, in capsules. So one episode would be 4 minutes, and it's poetry and inspiration. Yes, so it's on Spotify, Anchor. There's Pocket Cast, Overcast, and a few others. So that's my fun project these days.
Yeah, that's I had written here podcasts, because when you were talking about you like to do spoken word, you've done the radio, everything's podcasts and videos now. It's wonderful. People can just take a piece. It's just a nugget, right? Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty amazing. So Tamara, in the future, where do you see your writing?
Working on publishing some collections currently. So there are 2 projects that I'm working on simultaneously. One, it's more or less geared towards women and young girls, and the other, it's different, has a little more political undertones, and it addresses issues that we're faced with these days: social injustice, the divide, racism. So that one, those are 2 projects that I'm working on, and I'm working towards publishing them. I've always wanted to publish. I haven't done so just yet. So that's my short-term goal. Yeah. And man, I just want to write to, if I can help to heal our world with writing.
Yeah.
And I just think that I was born to do this.
Yeah.
If I can heal the world with poetry and inspirational words, that is what I'll do.
That's a pretty big and meaningful thing to be involved in and aiming for, and it's my experience is we don't necessarily get there. We are just on this journey of having that desire to do what you're saying, bring healing to the world. we certainly need it. The world is we're all going through quite a big transformation now. And,
Oh, yes.
and we need the arts. We need to hear all the different voices. And that's why I do this, because I want to keep bringing more voices and stories and concepts and energy out there, so that we can learn from one another and we can inspire one another. I'm very inspired by you today. So I'm thrilled that
thank you.
You were able to be here and do this with us. And can you say, do you have, I know you're working on getting something published. You said something about a podcast. Do you have a website or anything that you'd like people to know about?
Oh, absolutely. So you can find me on Anchor. Is there any way I can share the link? You go to Anchor and you look for Virtue Light. I'm also available on Spotify, rock radio. Oh, I have to do that. I'm trying to. All the podcast platforms are just rambling off of my tongue.
Yeah, I understand.
But let me get. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes. Overcast.
Spotify and we look up
Anchor.
Virtual Light. Is that right?
Virtue Light. Virtue Light.
Okay. Virtue Light. All right.
By Tamara Williams.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being part of this today, Tamara. And I want to let people know, if they want to know more about the Hawaii Writers Guild, you can go to the website, hawaiiwritersguild.com. There's also a Facebook page, Hawaii Writers Guild. And until next time, aloha, everyone.